Welcome back, everyone. Today's deep dive is all about something I know you're all eager to learn more about.
Yeah.
Large language models.
LLMs.
LLMs, yeah. Now, you've probably heard of things like ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
but as we're going to learn today, LLMs are way more than just chatbots. We're going to be using a compact guide to large language models
Mm-hmm.
to help us understand all this cool stuff
Awesome.
and figure out, like, what exactly are LLMs? What can they do? And, like, why should you even care?
Right.
Think of, like, computer programs
Yeah.
that are, like, super smart. They can, like, understand
Uh,
and generate human language.
yeah.
Crazy rough.
That is pretty
I
wild.
know. They're trained on mountains of text data,
Really.
learning all the, like, ins and outs of how we communicate.
So, like, how does that fit into, like, the bigger picture of generative AI?
Ooh, that's a great question.
It's not just about text. Think about AI creating art, music, even videos.
Yeah.
LLMs are a key part of this whole creative revolution that's happening.
It's so cool. Okay, so let's, like, rewind a bit, go back in time, and see how we even got here. The guide takes us through this, like, really interesting timeline of LLM development. Like, back in the day, researchers were trying to program computers with every single rule of language.
Oh, wow.
It was like this giant instruction manual. Can you even imagine?
It's like trying to teach someone to swim just by giving them a textbook.
Right.
They would never get in the water.
Exactly. But then in the 90s, things started changing.
Yeah.
Researchers realized that instead of programming every single rule, they could train computers to, like, recognize patterns in language.
Patterns.
Yeah. Based on, like, how often words appear together, the probability.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It was a huge EE shift in thinking.
And that's where the internet comes in.
Yes.
I mean, suddenly there was like a ginormous amount of data to train these models on. It's like going from a tiny little classroom to the Library of Congress overnight. The learning potential just exploded.
Totally. And that brings us to, like, the 2010s and 2020s, where we saw some crazy breakthroughs with deep learning, which is like a more advanced type of machine learning, really taking off. And this led to, like, those powerful models like GPT and BERT.
Ah, yes.
Remember those names? They're, like, a big deal in the LLM world.
What made these models, especially GPT, so groundbreaking was their ability to analyze information on, like, an unprecedented scale, They were trained on these massive data sets. They could process language in ways that were just unimaginable before. It really paved the way for the LLMs we have today.
Yeah, and then bam, ChatGPT comes out in 2022.
Right.
And suddenly, anyone with, like, an internet connection could experience the power of these advanced LLMs.
Yeah.
It was like a wake-up call. Everyone was like, whoa. AI is getting seriously smart.
For sure. And it's not just ChatGPT. The guide also talks about the rise of open source LLMs like DALL-E 2.0 and others, which are producing really impressive results and making this technology even more accessible.
It's such an exciting time to be following all this.
Yeah.
So we've seen how LLMs evolve, but, like, let's peek under the hood now and see how they actually work. The guide, like, debunks this myth that LLMs are just fancy autocomplete.
Right.
They're doing way more than that.
Think of it this way. Imagine an LLM as like a master chef who has tasted every flavor combination in the world,
Okay, yeah.
And based on all that knowledge, they can create brand new recipes.
Oh, wow.
Blending those flavors in these, like, unexpected and delicious ways. They're not just copying existing dishes.
Yeah.
They're creating something totally new based on, like, their vast culinary experience.
Ooh, that's a great analogy.
Thanks.
And this ability to, like, process information and generate new content, that's what makes LLMs so powerful.
Yeah.
What are some of the, like, key advancements that have helped LLMs reach this level of, like, sophistication?
One really interesting development has been integrating human feedback right into the training process.
Ooh.
It's like having a teacher guide the LLM, helping it understand not just the rules of language, but also the nuances of meaning and context,
It's like they're learning to read between the lines.
Exactly.
So we have better training data, more computing power, and now direct human feedback.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy to think how far they've come in such a short time. And the guide even mentions that the pace of innovation is only accelerating.
It's true. We're really just at the beginning of this whole LLM revolution.
Right.
There's still so much potential to unlock. So many ways these models could change the way we live, work, and, like, interact with the world around us.
It's mind-blowing. Okay, so now let's move on to, like, the really exciting part.
Yes.
Exploring what LLMs can actually do. And believe me, it's way more than just like writing poems and chatting with bots.
Get ready to have your mind blown. We're about to dive into a world where LLMs can write code, analyze emotions in text, and even help us make sense of super complex data. This is going to be an incredible journey. The guide really lays out like how many different ways we can use LLMs. It's pretty amazing. Let's start with something we can all relate to. Like chatbots and virtual assistants. We've all had those frustrating customer service bots that just can't seem to understand us.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like talking to a wall.
Right? But imagine like a chatbot powered by an LLM that can actually hold a natural conversation,
Yeah.
really gets what you need and helps you solve your problem quickly without all the hassle.
Sign me up for that. No more repeating myself 5 times or getting stuck in those endless phone menus.
Exactly.
It's like not just customer service either. Think about virtual assistants that can help you schedule appointments, manage your emails, even brainstorm ideas
Yeah, for
for
sure.
your next big project.
And it gets even more impressive. LLMs can actually write code
Why
and help
not?
with debugging.
Yeah.
They can be trained on tons of code, learning all the patterns and structures of different programming languages.
No way.
Imagine like describing a function you need
Yeah.
in plain English, and the LLM just generates the code for you.
Oh, that would be a game changer.
It's like having like a super powered coding assistant right there at your fingertips. The guide even says LLMs can find and fix bugs in existing code.
Like an AI debugger.
Exactly. The possibilities for LLMs in software development are huge.
Yeah.
It could really speed things up, reduce those annoying errors, and even make coding more accessible for folks who aren't like expert programmers.
That's incredible. Okay, next up is something that totally blew me away when I first heard about it.
What's that?
Sentiment analysis.
Ah.
LLMs can like analyze text and figure out the emotion behind it, like is it positive, negative, or neutral?
Right.
Think about how helpful that could be for companies trying to understand customer feedback.
Absolutely. Instead of having someone read through tons of customer reviews, an LLM could quickly analyze all that data, give you insights into how satisfied people are,
Wow.
identify any recurring issues, and even like track how sentiment changes over time.
It's like having like a super efficient customer insights team working 24/7.
That's a great way to put it.
And it's not just customer feedback either, right?
No, not at all.
LLMs could analyze social media posts to get a sense of like public opinion on a specific topic, or even scan news articles to identify potential PR risks for a company.
The applications are pretty much endless.
Cozy.
And then there's like text classification and clustering.
Okay.
LLMs are really good at taking huge amounts of text and grouping similar pieces of content together.
So like automatically sorting my emails.
Yeah.
No more wading through spam.
Exactly. Think about research, too. Imagine researchers using LLMs to analyze scientific papers and categorize them by topic, making it easier to find relevant studies and uncover connections between different fields.
Like an AI research assistant. What else can these things do?
Well, they're already being used for language translation.
Oh, wow.
And the results are getting better and better. This could really break down language barriers and connect people from all over the world.
Imagine being able to read any book or website in your own language.
Right.
It's like having a universal translator in your pocket.
And think about global business, LLMs could translate, like marketing materials, product descriptions, even customer support interactions. It would be so much easier to reach new customers and expand into new markets.
That's incredible. Okay, so now let's talk about something I think we can all appreciate. Summarization and paraphrasing.
Okay, yeah.
We've all been there drowning in these long, boring documents or having to listen to hours of meeting recordings. What if an LLM could just take all that information and like condense it into a short, sweet summary, highlighting the key points?
It would be a total game changer, especially for busy people who need to get the information quickly and make decisions.
Imagine getting the gist of a long report in just a few minutes. Or listening to a summarized version of a meeting on your commute.
It would be amazing.
It's like having a personal assistant who can read and listen for you. And, filter out all the unnecessary stuff. Giving you just the info you need.
And the guide even mentions that LLMs can paraphrase text, making it easier to understand those complex ideas or like rephrase things in a more concise and engaging way.
So helpful. For students, for writers.
For everyone, really.
LLMs could be like essential tools for learning and communication.
Absolutely.
And last but not least, content creation.
Right.
We've already seen how LLMs can write like poems and stories, but they can also generate other types of content,
Oh, yeah.
like articles, blog posts, even marketing copy.
Imagine giving an LLM a topic and some key points,
Yeah.
and it generates a first draft of an article for you. Or maybe you're stuck on a marketing campaign. That LLM could help you brainstorm different concepts and even generate slogans and taglines.
It's like having an AI brainstorming partner to like help you get past writer's block and come up with new ideas.
Exactly.
And, personalized content creation.
Yeah.
LLMs could analyze your interests and preferences and create content specifically for you.
It's incredible. But we have to remember that while LLMs are really powerful, they're not perfect.
True.
We need to be aware of their limitations,
Yeah.
and use them responsibly.
That's a great point. LLMs are tools, and like any tool, they can be misused. We need to be aware of those limitations and make sure we're using them ethically and thoughtfully.
I completely agree.
But even with those things in mind, the potential benefits are still huge.
So, thinking about all these ways to use LLMs, how do you see them impacting your own work or life? Could they help you be more efficient or creative or more informed? The possibilities are endless.
It's true. It feels like we're on the edge of something brand new. And LLMs are changing the way we interact with technology and with each other.
And the choices we make about how to use and develop these models, they're going to shake the future in some really big ways.
For sure.
It's important to be informed and engaged as we navigate the exciting new landscape.
Okay, so speaking of choices, one of the decisions you might have to make in the future is whether to use proprietary LLM services like ChatGPT or dive into the world of open source models.
Yeah.
The guide breaks down the pros and cons of each approach really well.
Let's talk about that. So those proprietary services like ChatGPT, they're undeniably powerful and super easy to use.
Yeah.
They give you access to those cutting-edge LLMs without needing any technical expertise.
That's a big plus. But the guide also points out some things to consider.
One of the biggest concerns is data privacy, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
When you use one of these services, you're sending your data to a company. And while they probably have strong security, there's always some risk.
Yeah. Free.
And then there's the cost.
Oh, yeah.
These services usually aren't free.
Right.
And it can get pretty expensive if you're using them a lot.
And then there's the black box thing. Like with proprietary services, you don't really know how the LLM was trained.
Right.
Or what data it was trained on.
Yeah, you're basically just trusting the company.
Right.
But you have no way to check if they did everything responsibly.
That makes sense. So what about open source models then?
Well, they offer several benefits. First of all, you have more control over your data.
Okay.
You can download the model and run it on your own servers, which gives you more security and privacy.
And what about the cost?
A lot of open source models are free to use.
Wow.
And even the ones that aren't are usually a lot cheaper than those proprietary services.
Nice.
Plus, you have the flexibility to customize the model to fit your needs.
Oh, cool.
And you can even contribute to its development.
That's awesome. So more control, more affordability, and more flexibility. It sounds pretty great.
It does.
But are open source models as powerful as the proprietary ones?
That's a great question. And the answer is more and more yes.
Really?
The guide highlights a few open source models that are getting results similar to some of the best proprietary services.
Oh, wow.
And this trend is only going to continue as more researchers and developers join the open source community. It's really exciting to see.
It's like LLMs are becoming more democratic.
Yeah.
Open source models are making this powerful technology accessible to everyone, regardless of their budget or their technical skills.
Exactly. This could really spark a wave of innovation as people from all over the world experiment with LLMs and create new and interesting applications. The possibilities are limitless.
But I'm guessing there are some downsides to open source models too, right?
Well, of course. They usually require more technical expertise to set up and use.
Yeah.
And you might have to train the model on your own data to get the best performance.
So there's a trade-off. Proprietary services are convenient and high-performing,
Right.
but raise concerns about data privacy and control.
Uh-huh.
Open source models give you more control and flexibility, but might need more technical know-how and some upfront effort.
It really comes down to what you need, your resources, and what's most important to you. But it's key to weigh those pros and cons before deciding.
Absolutely. And we have to remember, The world of LLMs is changing all the time.
Yes.
New models and services are popping up left and right, so stay curious and keep exploring.
Exactly. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah.
Does the idea of open source models intrigue you, or does the convenience of those proprietary services seem more appealing?
Oh, we'd love to hear from you. Now let's shift gears and talk about the biggest question of all.
Okay.
What does the future hold for LLMs? Where is this technology going?
Right.
And how will it impact our lives? The guide gives us some interesting perspectives on these questions.
So let's dive into the future. The guide really emphasizes the need for, a strong data foundation
Yeah.
to support the continued development and use of LLMs.
Oh, yeah.
As these models get more and more advanced, they're going to need access to even bigger and more diverse data sets to learn and grow.
That makes sense.
And that brings up some big questions about data access, ownership, and privacy. Who will control these massive data sets, and how will we make sure they're being used responsibly?
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
It's complex, for sure.
It'll take a lot of thought and collaboration between researchers, policymakers,
Yeah.
and the public.
We need to make sure we're doing this right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then there's the potential impact of LLMs on jobs.
Oh, yeah. That's a bigger.
As these models get better at doing things that humans used to do, some jobs might become automated.
We need to start thinking about how to prepare for these changes,
Yeah.
and ensure that everyone benefits from these AI advances.
It's definitely a challenge,
Yeah.
but it's one we need to face head on.
It's a lot to unpack, really.
Yeah.
On one hand, we have this incredible potential for progress and innovation. On the other, we have this responsibility to ensure these advancements are used ethically and benefit everyone.
A delicate balance.
Definitely. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I have a final thought-provoking question for you.
What is it?
What do you think will be the biggest impact of LLMs in the next 5 years?
Oh, that's a good one.
Will they change the way we work, learn, and communicate? Will they help us solve some of the world's biggest problems? Only time will tell.
It's definitely a journey worth following closely.
It really does feel like we're at this, crossroads.
Yeah.
With both these amazing opportunities and, potential challenges ahead.
Definitely.
That's what makes exploring these topics so fascinating. What do you think?
I totally agree. It's such a dynamic field, and this deep dive has really just been a glimpse into the vast world of LLMs.
Right.
A compact guide to large language models has given us a great foundation,
Sure.
but there's always more to learn.
And speaking of learning more, the guide actually points us to some great resources.
Oh, yeah.
If you're, interested.
Oh,
They have Databricks, videos, courses,
wow.
even code examples
That's awesome.
to help get you started on your own LLM journey.
I love that there are so many resources available for people who want to, go beyond just understanding LLMs and actually start using and experimenting with them.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to develop the next big LLM application.
Right.
The possibilities really are limitless.
They are. But before we go, let's just recap what we talked about today.
Okay, yeah.
We explored what LLMs are, how they work, and their incredible potential across so many different applications, from those helpful chatbots to generating code and even analyzing emotions in text.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
It is.
We also talked about some important considerations around LLMs,
Right.
like data privacy and the potential impact on jobs.
We also discussed the choice between using proprietary services versus open source models.
Yeah.
Looking at the benefits and drawbacks of each.
It was a jam-packed deep dive for sure.
We covered a lot of ground, but hopefully you've come away with a better understanding of LLMs and the impact they're having on our world.
Absolutely. And most importantly, I hope we've sparked your curiosity
Yeah.
and inspired you to keep exploring this amazing field.
I think we've done that. So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I'd like to leave you with one final thought. As LLMs continue to evolve, what role do you think they will play in shaping the world we live in?
That's a great question.
It's something to really think about
Yeah,
and maybe even discuss with others.
for sure. Well, that's all for this deep dive.
It was a great one.
But we'll be back soon with another fascinating topic to explore. Until then, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. And as always, thanks for joining us. Just a reminder, all this info came from a compact guide to large language models.
Be sure to check it out.
See you next time.